Hi guys, thank you for joining us today evening. Thank you for switching off for muting your sound. So let's wait for, I think, 3-4 more minutes and we can start, all right? Can you hear me? Can you?
Yes.
Okay, good. I will ask you not to use your sound. Please stay muted, but you can write us in chat. All right, so I'll just check chat and I'll see all your questions or answers to my questions. Okay. Guys, please, if you are unmuted, get muted. This means switch off the microphone. Great. More people are joining. Okay, I think we can start another people because about, I think, approximately 70 people wanted to join us today. Of course, can't be that many, but at least, 1/3, I think. So today we're gonna talk, not only me, but hopefully you as well, on the topic, two great cities, what do they have in common? I have a presentation in PowerPoint for you. And sometimes I will ask you questions and maybe you can write not to interfere, not to let other people listen to some other sounds. Please, you can write your answers in chat and I'll be reading them and I'll be announcing them, okay? And the last, I think, 5 minutes of our seminar, we will dedicate to some communication, questions, answers, etc., etc. Okay. Agree? So
Yes.
Great. Okay. So I will share my screen now. First of all, let me introduce myself. Some time ago, I organized different seminars in British Book Center in Zoom and also some offline stuff between the waves of pandemic and offline children events. So maybe some of you already know me, someone don't. I'm Irina Efers, founder of English in Action SPB project. This is a project that organizes different events in English, like excursions, quests in different museums and in different areas around the city. Yacht trips to the Gulf of Finland during spring and summer times, and hopefully this year we'll also have them. Cooking classes with the foreign chefs. And what else do we have? We had online speaking club with a native speaker, probably will restart it in the springtime, and different networking dinners. Also, I'm a freelance journalist for Такие дела and Ведомости Город. These two are Moscow newspapers, not newspaper. Такие дела is more like a website. And now I am associate business analyst for EPAM, which is an international IT company. So, all right, let's finish with it. Our topic, two great cities, what do they have in common? First of all, I would like to know if anyone has ever been to London. You can write in chat. Yes, no, what's your impressions are, if you want to visit, if you're not interested. You can write in chat. So, anyone visited London? No? I've never been in London. No, I was an amazing. One more person been to London. So this Anastasia and Elizaveta, you've been to London. So was it a great trip? Which areas were you visiting? Amazing, yeah. This is a word I'm usually using when I'm telling my friends about London and my relatives. Amazing, stunning, awesome. It's like Babylon, very different. Sometimes you can feel that you're in the center of the city, but you feel like you are somewhere in the outskirts, somewhere in the village. And sometimes you just can feel that you are right in a, business district, or very, how should I put it the right way? Fun place, full of bars, clubs, and life is very busy, life is very noisy there. Like SPB. Okay, someone thinks that London is similar to SPB, probably. So let's see. Maybe you know, maybe you don't, that in the first 2 centuries of St. Petersburg existence, English community was one of the largest minority groups in the city. And many Englishmen took up high positions.
Sure.
Can you please switch off the sound? Okay. So many Englishmen took up high positions at court, carried on successful trade among the population, and had huge privileges and respect. And to this day, there are 2 streets in the city named for the English past. And the houses and mansions built by these merchants and officials stand to this day. Mansion is like особняк. So do you know what are these 2 streets? Can you write me in chat? The names of 2 St. Petersburg streets that has English names, that have English names. Anyone? Any ideas? No one is writing, okay. Actually, you can see them on the picture in here. So English Embankment, English Avenue, English Prospect. Yeah, thank you, Marina, Alia, thank you so much. That's true. So let's start from the very beginning. If Ivan the Terrible and Elizabeth, what is the connection between these 2 famous historical figures? So political and economical relations between Russia and Great Britain first began in the 16th century, believe it or not, during the dark times of Ivan IV, Ivan the Terrible. At that time, Queen Elizabeth of England organized a trading campaign aimed at the discovery of countries, states, and territories not known and not connected by marine ways. And one of the countries she most desired to establish ties was with Russia, or Muscovy, as foreigners called it at that time. The two monarchs, Ivan and Elizabeth, exchanged presents and wrote letters not only of a diplomatic, but also of a friendly nature. And it is even suspected that the Russian Tsar wrote to English Queen with a proposal of marriage. Who knows, but this legend exists. But the story goes that Elizabeth didn't like the portrait of her Russian suitor and rejected Ivan. Then, when Peter the Great took the Russian throne, he set off for Western Europe with the aim of studying and collecting the best inventions and achievements he saw as necessary to create a new Western-looking Russia. And one of the places he had long dreamed of seeing was London. The city itself impressed Peter deeply, and it was apparently one of the examples he had in his head when he was building St. Petersburg. In London, he visited many places and occupied himself with many activities. He visited the House of Parliament, met Sir Isaac Newton, watched the stars and planets at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, attended fights, of course, and worked as a simple carpenter for a shipbuilding yard in London. And of course, he was introduced to the court. William III, the English king, presented the young Russian Tsar with a stunning gift, a high-speed yacht called Royal Transport. He also organized special marine exercises near the Isle of Wight. So, in 1704, the first English ship arrived in the waters of Neva. On board were many engineers, mathematicians, builders, mechanics, merchants, and doctors. An English community started to grow in the new Russian capital, and unsurprisingly, the new arrivals first settled not far from the port, as it was convenient to meet ships with goods for their businesses. The street where they started to live was called the English Lion, or английская перспектива, the English Prospect, today английский проспект. By the 18th century, the street had become one of the busiest trading thoroughfares in the city. There were about 28 English trading houses, and many shops sold everything from clothes to maps, books, and medicine. And at that time, St. Petersburg English-speaking community numbered 1,500, so 1% of the city's total population, which is quite big, you can imagine. However, in the 19th century, the status and role of the street changed, and it became one of the most fashionable and bohemian streets in St. Petersburg. This change in status was a result of the street's proximity to a number of theaters and conservatories, and many dancers, ballerinas, musicians, poets, composers, actors, and actresses had flats there. And this artistic community formed the St. Petersburg Bohemian Beau Monde, which can be translated from French as beautiful world, beau monde. And its members were models for new trends in fashion, manners, and behavior. And on the photo here, you can see английский проспект. So merchants and doctors on English streets. Not only merchants and engineers and mechanics, but also doctors were very important part of British community in St. Petersburg. And you can't even imagine how many doctors worked at that time in St. Petersburg, and how many doctors, I mean, who came from UK, Great Britain, and how popular it was to do checkups with a British doctor. But now we're talking about house number 39 on Английский проспект, you can see it. And it tells us about the life of such trendsetters. Many flats here belong to belly dancers, while the building also house so-called rehearsal halls. Rehearsal значит прослушивание, where the residents could practice their roles and dances. One of the most famous residents of this house was the great belly dancer and Václav Nijinsky. and men's fashion at the time was English. So it was here that the first Russian dandies appeared on the trendy English prospect. They wore cylinders and bowler hats, petilki, wrapped white scarves around their necks. Every well-known dandy had his own secret to wearing them. And many young admirers were ready to pay money for sartorial advice. Every morning, Russian dandies read popular magazines called Dandy and Gentleman Fashion, drank English ale with oysters, с устрицами, in one of three English pubs located on the English Prospect, visited one of many English barbers. I think you all know this word because nowadays we have so many barber shops in St. Petersburg, and this fashion for barbers, it came back. So that used the famous Sheffield razors. And in number 2123, meanwhile, was the first building in the city to see the use of electric technology to prepare an English-style breakfast. Among the citizens of St. Petersburg, the building is today known as the Fairy Tale House. You can see it on this drawing below, or the house of Anna Pavlova. This outstanding Russian ballerina who lived here for many years toured abroad a lot and visited London many times. And this, she saw a brand new way of making breakfast without the servants' help. Using a kettle, a tiny coffee pot, a toaster, and an egg boiler. She loved the idea so much that upon her arrival in St. Petersburg, she started to invite friends and prepare electrical English breakfast herself that became very popular in the Bohemian circles. And guys, I think, I'm not sure, but I think most of you tried English breakfast, right? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Do you like it? No answer. Okay. Actually, I don't remember exactly the name, but nowadays people call English breakfast something like killer for liver or killer for stomach or something like that, because it's very heavy, it's full of calories. You can see on the picture what English breakfast is. If you eat a proper English breakfast in the morning, you can skip, lunch or dinner, or maybe both. You don't like sausages for breakfast, Alia? Yeah. Sausages, mushrooms, eggs, tomatoes, toast with a butter and jam, and also some sort of fried ham, and much more. You can try a traditional English breakfast in Dickens Pub on Fontanka River. It's really, really tasty. Yeah, I can see your comment. It's really tasty, but it depends on, how strong your stomach is, I guess. I like it. Me personally, I adore it. But, tastes differ. Okay, let's go to another slide. So at its westward end, Angliski Prospect opens out onto the river Niver and Angliskaya Nabережная, English embankment, or English quay. Another name for embankment is quay, the main street of the Russian capital in the 18th century, and essentially its calling card. The role of the street was to impress visitors with the beauty and splendor of the northern capital, as it was the first street which all foreigners saw when they arrived in St. Petersburg by sea. All Russian monarchs paid special attention to the state of the embankment and the houses along it, and inspected it from time to time. So the appearance of the house didn't correspond to the street requirements. The owners of the house could be punished or fined. To be fined, быть оштрафованными. By 1775, all the houses on the English embankment belonged to rich English merchants, royal bankers, royal doctors, admirals, and mechanics. For example, house number 74 belonged to James Wheely, private doctor of Alexander I. In 1790, he was invited to Russia by the renowned Dr. John Rogerson, who treated Catherine II, Paul I, and Alexander I. The latter later retired and returned to England. And the idea of having English doctors originated with Peter's father, Tsar Alexei Mikhailovich. His private doctor, Samuel Collins, even wrote a book upon his return to London called The Present State of Russia. So, British doctors in St. Petersburg. Not only did Russian mornings owe their health to English doctors, but as I said before, ordinary people too. It was Thomas Dimsdale, an English doctor, who first carried out a vaccination against smallpox in St. Petersburg during the reign of Catherine II. I think now it's a very, it can be a very popular topic, right? Because we have pandemic for two years already. So let's do a flashback and learn that a few centuries ago we had kind of similar situation, and British doctors were the first to help. So the Empress decided to begin by receiving a vaccination herself and thereby show an example to her people. For this purpose, Dimsdale brought a little boy named Sasha Markov into Catherine's private rooms, which was extremely risky. But at that time, there were no vaccines or syringes, so the doctor had to take some particles or the smallpox from the body of the sick child, particles, частицы, and place them into a cut made on the arm of the Empress. Kind of adventure for the Empress, I think. Very super risky, I think very dangerous and very brave from her side to do that. But all went well, and soon after treating Catherine, Dimsdale carried out an injection on her little son, the future Tsar Pavel I. After this, people from all over St. Petersburg flocked to him for vaccinations, calling him master of smallpox. And you can see that we also had an Anglo-Russian hospital with this beautiful emblem, 1915, 1918. But British people in St. Petersburg were famous not only for business and for heroic deeds in medicine, but also for famous gardens. Maybe you don't know, but a lot of St. Petersburg gardens and the gardens in the outskirts of St. Petersburg were either created by Brits or they were, the plan was developed by British people. So house number 70 on English Embankment is known as the House of English Merchants. They say that behind the house there was a real English garden where exotic fruit was grown, unusual for such northern climates: grapes, pineapples, peaches, and pears. Englishmen had a great impact on appearance of the most beautiful parks of St. Petersburg and its surrounding, as I said before. So, for example, John Bush, invited by Catherine II, developed a landscape plan of English park. Later, this plan was used for the park Tsarskoye Selo. Bush also took part in creating Angliysky Sad in Gatchina. His work was continued by Charles Cameron from Scotland. He worked in Tsarskoye Selo and created an ensemble of Cameron Gallery. He also developed a plan for a palace, park, and pavilions in Pavlovsk. So you can see, sorry, what I'm doing. You can see the beautiful park in Tsarskoye Selo, and I think not less beautiful park in Gatchina, but a little bit abandoned nowadays. I haven't been there for ages, but I think the last time I've been there with a tourist, it was super beautiful, very romantic, but a little bit sad, abandoned, but still. And also the idea of regular parks came from England. A regular park means that every tree, every bush is trimmed in a proper way. Когда каждое дерево, каждый куст подстрижен, какие-то формы ему приданы, это называется регулярный парк, regular park. And if you've been to London, you've seen, for example, in Regent's Park. Regent's Park is very regular, very British park, because they love to trim the trees, and they even love to create sculpture, not sculptures, but like different animals. For example, I've seen elephants, bushes in the shapes of elephants, for example, in the park. So Nevsky Prospect at that time comes off second best. It may seem hard to believe nowadays, but in 19th century, English Embankment was more popular than the city's principal artery, Nevsky Prospect. At this time of the year, Nevsky is not popular for walking, wrote the local newspaper Nevskaya Chela. Now it is used only for business. The walking public arrives from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on the English Embankment and enjoys the first spring sun rays. You can walk on the broad, clean and dry pavement along the embankment. The heart of English St. Petersburg and the English community was house number 56. On March 1st, 1770, Francis Gardner opened an English club here. At first, its members were only Englishmen who worked and served in St. Petersburg, but later Russian aristocrats were also accepted into the club. Inside there were rooms for playing chess, billiards, and even a room for telling lies. Later, an English church was opened in the building, along with a theatre, which invited English actors and theatre groups from London. After the revolution, all Englishmen left Russia, of course, and their houses were nationalized and given to different ministries and communal flats. The two streets that had once formed the heart of the city's English community were given new names: Embankment of Red Fleet and Maclean Prospect, after leading British Marxist and later chair of the Third All-Russian Congress of Soviets, John Maclean. And it was only in 1994 that these two streets were finally saw their names restored in connection with the visit of Queen Elizabeth II to St. Petersburg, which itself had seen its original name reinstated just the year before. So on the picture you can see, on the drawing you can see dandy style and embankment opposite to Peter's and Paul's fortress, as I can see on the background. And yes, English Embankment, why it was so beautiful, why it was so stunning, because it was a representative spot, because it was next to the port. So all the ships were coming to English Embankment. And that's why it was so important to build it properly, due to cannons, beautifully decorated houses, and so on and so forth. And nowadays we have there, what do we have? We have Дворец бракосочетания номер 1, we have Gazprom building and many other civil, let's put it like that, the buildings for the civil services. Yes, the next slide will be actually about Russian places in London. So before that, I want to ask you a question. What other places, what other English places do you know in St. Petersburg? Because I mentioned just few on purpose. I want you to add some more. Maybe you can write in chat. So, do you know some other places in St. Petersburg that have connections, maybe not just to London, but to Great Britain in general?
Maybe Peterhof Garden.
Peterhof Garden, maybe actually.
Like regular park.
Sorry? Like a regular.
Like
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But usually it's more about Gatchina and Tsarskoye Selo. I don't know why. In different, I've tried to find the answer to this question in different sources, but usually they're not mentioning Peterhof. I don't know why. But there are some more. Actually, not just the car.
Iceland.
Sorry? Sorry? Someone wanted to say something? No? What about the shop Anglia? The bookstore on Fontanka?
I don't know it.
Okay. I think it still exists. This shop,
No, it doesn't.
it doesn't.
No.
It's closed already, right?
Yes, they sort of made these two shops into one. There was Britain and there was
Yeah.
England. Now it's called Bookbridge. It's on Maratha the 10th. Maratha number 10.
So it changed the location.
Shop. And it's called Bookbridge now.
Yeah, that's sad because it was very, I don't know, like historical place. I think it was there for a couple decades. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I also remember there were two shops because opposite Anglia, there was John Parsons bookshop where you could find various academic books and different branches of science.
Yeah. Yeah, right. What about British bars, pubs?
Британские пекарни.
Британские пекарни, yeah. I think only thing that is British there is their lemonades. They have very nice British lemonades, but quite expensive. Dickens, what about Dickens? Molly's, but it's more Irish, like yeah, Molly's.
Yeah, there are more
Irish.
Irish pubs than English pubs right now.
Sorry?
More Irish pubs than English pubs, I'm afraid.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, it was the Telegraph on Rubinsteiner Street. It was closed also, I guess.
There was a on Kanyushina Street Telegraph, right?
Kanyushina, which Kanyushina? I don't remember.
Большая Kanyushina. Yeah, there's a pub on Большая Kanyushina. Something like Telegraph, I guess. And somewhere there was also a telephone cabin. The red one, the British one. Somewhere in the center. Nadezhda wrote maybe some models of trains at Railway Museum. Maybe, I don't know. I don't remember the last time I've been to Railway Museum. Maybe. Yeah, so not that many places. I guess much more red up deck buses. Yeah, much more Russian places in London, actually, I guess, nowadays. And now we're coming to this point. So there are few places in London which are very, very Russian. First one, there is a place called Little Russia. That's funny because they have also Little Korea, I think, full of, you know, Korean shops, Korean restaurants, etc., etc. And they have Little Russia. So it was an area of Tottenham, London. Tottenham is quite central district of the city. So it was on the straight northern boundary of London Borough of Haringey. And yeah, this is the precise location I'm mentioning here. So the area had become known as Little Russia in the early 20th century due to the influx of Russian immigrants. Immigration peaked when a large number of Russians settled there after fleeing the 1917 Russian Revolution. And it developed into one of the toughest areas of North London. And the local constabulary usually only policed the area in pairs, like favela, you know, in Brazil. The area was mostly redeveloped in the 1970s. In an Edmonton Boy, Terry Webb described the area. My mother came out of Tottenham, out of a road called Lawrence Road, now demolished. Now that had the nickname of Little Russia. Why it had that name, I don't know, but it was the roughest area. A lot of costermongers lived down there, and the Boru boys, and the fruit and vegetable people, and they nearly all had horses and carts. Cars like Pavoska. The area was completely terraced. One end went into Pretoria Road, Tottenham, and the other end went into Queen Street. There was an old pub there called the Sun and Compass, demolished, and it's still there. And they tell me that they used to take their horses through the house and keep them in the back garden. But that sounds more like a, like a joke. So, do you know the areas that are very Russian nowadays? I told you about Little Russia, but it was in the beginning of 20th century. Do you know where Russian immigrants live in London nowadays? Which areas?
No, unfortunately.
No, okay. There is an area actually called Notting Hill, and I'm sure many of you watched the movie Notting Hill, right? So this considered to be Russian area. Actually, London is divided by boroughs, like districts, and almost every district is, how should I put it correctly? So there are, for example, Jewish area, Bangladeshi area, Ethiopian area, more like Arab area, very, very expensive part of the city. And Notting Hill is Russian area. And also Belgravia. Belgravia is an area around Regent's Park. So in the very center of London. And if you'll be in Regent's Park, you will see beautiful and the whole like ensemble of white, beautiful mansions. Yeah, you were right, Elia, when you wrote in mansions, and these mansions, they belong to rich Russians. But of course, not all Russians that live in London are rich, so yeah. But mostly it's Notting Hill and Belgravia. And there are a lot of Russian immigrants in UK. I started in UK in 2008, and the Russian population of London was huge. Maybe the same as English population back in 18th century in St. Petersburg, like 1%. I've read something like that. Yeah. Also, not far from the Hyde Park, they have two streets. One is called Moscow and another is called St. Petersburg. So St. Petersburg, and the spelling survives in the name of the street in Bayswater district of London. Bayswater, it's very close to Hyde Park, near St. Sophia Cathedral, named after a visit by the Tsar to London in 1814. So I was very surprised when I saw that one of my Russian friends, he lived nearby, and we visited the street, St. Petersburg, and I actually have a picture from there, but I have tried to find it for this presentation, but I failed. Yeah, and also they have a lot of Russian restaurants. For example, also in the center of the city, for example, in Canary Wharf, which is the second business part of London. The first is Soho and the second is Canary Wharf. They have very impressive posh meaning stunning, expensive Russian restaurant. Of course, all of them are opened by Russians. And also they have in the Bohemian part of London, which is called Primrose Hill and Chalk Farm, Camden Town. Maybe someone heard about Camden Town. It's more, like Bohemian part of London. Usually there live actors and painters and maybe writers. So intellectual elite of London. They have very nice Russian cafe there, which is super popular among British people. And they love black tea. They call it Ruski chai, Russian tea. Basically just normal black tea with honey. They put honey there inside, and a few Russian dishes and some Russian pastry. So they love it. And it's actually very expensive. That time I was living there, the price was almost £3 for just a tea. And you can imagine, if you calculate in rubles, £3 for just a cup of tea, just one cup of tea, you can imagine how expensive it is. So yeah, and mostly British people were there, not Russians, of course. Maybe you know some other Russian places in London or in UK in general. Maybe you visited Russian restaurants when you were in London, or no? No. Okay, maybe next time. Actually, you know, I brought some of my friends to a Russian restaurant in London, and we had a tradition. There were a circle of friends from different countries, not only Brits, but also from Vietnam, Indonesia, Morocco, Iran also. And every week or every 2 weeks on a weekend, we visited the restaurant, you know, like Iranian or Vietnamese or Russian. So meaning you are bringing your friends to your culture and you are presenting your friends to the Russian or to Vietnamese cuisine. So they were really impressed and shocked because, for example, in Vietnam, they don't have bread. It's not popular. So they were so shocked to eat Russian black bread. They ate it in small bits, you know, they just took a small bits from one slice and they tried it as it's like caviar or something. And they tried cutlets and caviar and not vodka, but different like liqueurs like nastoyki. So they were, I can't say they like it. I think it was just a cultural shock because many things they just never tried before and they don't know what's that. So they were interested anyway. So yeah, maybe you have some questions. You can ask any questions except political ones. So anything about London or anything about, you know, history of British people in London, in St. Petersburg, or maybe something about language. Anyone, guys? You can get unmuted and ask questions. And for the last few minutes, we can have some, you know, English practice. What do you think?
What were you doing in London and how long have you been there?
I was studying, I was doing my master's degree there in marketing communications in the University of Westminster. I've been there for like almost 2 years. 1 year I was studying because master's in the UK lasts for 1 year. And another year I was, I had an internship at the practicum. And then I was trying to find a job, but there was a credit crunch. So they're not saying financial crisis, they're saying they are calling it credit crunch. It's like financial crisis. So I was trying to find a job due to my profession, but didn't succeed, and then decided to come back to St. Petersburg. Was like that.
So that's more of a cultural experience for you.
Sorry?
So that's more of a cultural experience for you than the working experience.
No, it was working experience because still I was working in a small British firm. So it was a working experience and educational experience because it's very different from what I had here in the St. Petersburg State University, especially at that time. because they had a lot of practice and they had a lot of practitioners among professors. In Russia, I think still, but especially that time, you know, professors, they were like more theoretical guys. And in UK, every person who was our professor worked in a company, in marketing company, on a very good high position. And working at uni, it wasn't their full-time job. It was their kind of side job, meaning that they were coming with a lot of experience and shared it with us, which was great. So it's a great experience in, I think, in many ways. Also in language, in culture, not even in culture, but in the way you meet so many people from abroad, from all over the world. You can't meet them, you know, in St. Petersburg. Because I was sharing a flat with a Moroccan girl and Indonesian and Korean and Australian at the same time, 5 girls in a huge flat. And they all were super different, and they shared their, you know, mentality and some traditions with each other. We shared, and with some of them we still have contact. We're still friends after all these years. So this a huge change, life-changing experience. Let's put it like that.
And you did the bachelor degree in St. Petersburg State University in the same faculty, or you changed your major?
I can't say I changed. I graduated from Faculty of Journalism, and I did my master's in marketing. So it's very close, not very close, but still, yeah, more or less they're connected. Because we had PR and we had marketing research, which is far from journalism, but PR and direct marketing, mail marketing and things like that, they're quite close to journalism, I think. So yeah.
I don't want to hog the conversation, but I wanted to ask you one more question about, was it easy to find a job in St. Petersburg when you were back?
You know, it wasn't easy because no one needed my degree. And it was credit crunch in St. Petersburg in Russia as well that time. And people thought I am overqualified, meaning I don't have that much experience, but I have a few degrees and English. And I wanted quite good salary, which many companies were not going to give me. So it was harsh. But I should say that nowadays it's more easy because IT sector, I mean, nowadays, of course, already, I don't know with all the situation, but like going on, but in general, in IT company, my English was highly estimated. That's what they need, is a very good English and soft skills, meaning communication and mindset, mentality, broad horizons, experience with different cultures. That's what they're searching for. And finally, all my efforts, they were valued, but not quickly. Sorry?
Now you're working in the IT sector.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. That's a surprise that they need communications.
No, that's very important. Why? No, that's very important because they have like developers and they have designers and other people who are doing the job, but they also need business analysts, for example, who are working in between the clients and the team, the production team. And these people, they should be very communicative and with a very good language, and people who know how to negotiate, how to talk, how to listen, you know, this kind of things. And they say that it's more easy to teach person the hard skills, like how to code, than soft skills, how to communicate, because this is something you are born with. So for them, it's more easy to find the person who can code, or they can teach him or her, then, you know, this kind of skills. So yeah, but at the same time, I continue my project, English in Action. So if you're interested in practicing your English in fun ways and meeting other people and knowing more about the city, please do come and join us in spring. We'll put a timetable in the social networks. So it's called like this, English in Action, SPB, in VK, in Instagram and Facebook, you can find us, or through the British Book Center, you can find as well, and join our events. In the previous years, it was fun. So yeah, and very nice people are coming, so it's double fun when you're in the right community with the right people. I think so.
And when are your gatherings starting?
Sorry?
Oh, when are your meetings starting? Are they starting soon?
Yeah, they're starting, I think, in 1 month or less, even less. We're already doing some events, but there's like closed events for schools, you know, like prepared from that side. But we'll start in April and everyone can come. So just check the timetable. Yeah. Especially I recommend if you don't like, because not all people like quests. It's like a game, you know, online with a special mobile. It's not an app, not application, like a website. But if you like excursions and small yacht trips, this is a very, very nice quality time. So yeah. So guys, if you don't have any other questions, I don't know why you're keeping silence, almost all of you. It was a nice, I think, opportunity to practice English, but okay, maybe you're just tired. I was really happy that you joined. I hope that British Book Center will put this video recording in social networks in the UK. And I hope to see you either on my events, or at other seminars we'll hopefully organize in the nearest future. Thank you.
Would you maybe put some reference points in the chat box? Your social networks or something where we can find.
Yeah, I can put in the chat. It's called English. I'm typing in Action SPB. English in Action, 1 sec. I don't know why I can't type or what. Guys, it seems I can't type.
Okay, so English in Action, if we Google it, we can find it, right?
Okay, yeah, here we go. English in Action SPB. Can you see it? So you can find it in VK, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. Yeah, this is the name. So we'll be happy to see you at the events. And have a nice evening.
Thank you very much to you too.
Yeah,
Thank you very
stay
much.
motivated, try to stay calm. And yeah.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.